encourage you to start moving forward and to do everything in your power to make this happen for you. The thing about this is we meet sporadically. We were meeting today. We meet again on the 25th, and then I need to look at the last date, but we don't have much time together. So I'm going to try to make this time valuable in the sense where you start to think differently or to think about moving forward. The one thing I want you to do or to think about is making this cycle 1 a priority. And I say that with absolute urgency. It's almost like you're working in a vacuum. You're not going to have me every Thursday or every Wednesday, so we can keep going over and over and over. So you're going to have to make this a priority. You're going to have to sort of really pin yourself down. You're going to have to go to the CTC website. You're going to have to cruise through the log-on dates the dates that you can open the window and drop your assignment in. You can choose those dates. You're going to have to choose the date that works for you. You're going to have to start working on the cycle. You're going to have to go to CTC and make your payment and register so that you can get the templates. However, at the same time, I can give you trial templates to start working with and messing around with before you jump on there and get the template and start loading the work on it. And then you're going to have to decide what date you're going to load your completed evidence into the window at CTC, and then you're going to wait around for your results. However, at the same time, I'm making myself available to you. I have office hours, and you can swing by and see me. If a few of you want to get together, I'll be happy to do, a little Zoom session with you, but you need to contact me and to let me know. And I'm still working on exactly how to engage with all of you in the same setting. Maybe I can talk with Dr. Garrett about that, or I can talk with Antoinette about that. But once I learn that, and I'll learn that pretty fast early on next week, I'll start sending you information. I'll send you the templates that you'll be working with, so you can start to sort of look around and feel your way. I'll give you my contact information, and then we can start connecting with each other. And if a few of you want to get together, I'll be more than happy to get with you and assist you in this process. What I'm going to do today is I want you to start thinking about things that you need to start doing now with your master teacher so that you can start moving this process forward. So let's get going. And here's the next thing. I don't know if you have a copy of the Performance Assessment Guide, CalTPA. And I guess there are too many people for me to say, oh, raise your hand or give me your thumbs up. But what I'm going to do, once I find out how to get in touch with all of you, I will send you version 4, which is the updated version of the Performance Assessment Guide. And that's what I'm using to engage you in conversation right now. This should be pretty much your Bible. You should take this thing, read it, go through it, and then you can come to me and ask me questions. You can bounce things off of me, but you're going to need to have this in order to really familiarize yourself with CalTPA Cycle 1. And the next thing is this, when I said earlier, I said, make this a priority. This is a high stakes assessment for you. This is high stakes. You clear Cycle 1, you clear Cycle 2, and then everything else is smooth sailing from there. Okay, so you have to get this done. You can't hide from it. You can't sort of shy it off and say, oh, I'll get to that later. I recommend you start engaging immediately with moving forward with this. All right, folks? So the one thing you're going to need to do there's you're gonna step one. And here's the next thing before I start on this. If you have any questions, feel free to throw your hand up. And I can't see all 149 of you, but if you just sort of say, hey, Quentin, interrupt me, and then I'll hear your question.
Quentin?
Yes.
Where do we find the guide, the document you're talking about?
You know what? I'm going to get you the guide. However, you can also find it on CTC website.
Letting me work here.
On CTC website?
I'm on, come by every Friday and tell you guys move.
Okay, everybody needs to go mute. So some people having conversations. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, you can find it on the CTC website. And then I will also, I'll make sure that you have it loaded up to you by Tuesday of next week, okay? I just need to know where to drop it so I can get in touch with all of you. All right?
Can you upload it, the document to the chat?
I don't, right now, no.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't worry, by Tuesday, I give you my word, by Tuesday, I'll even talk with Dr. Garrett. Maybe he can give me some insight on how to do it. Maybe I can just send it to all three of all the different sessions. I don't know, but I'll work on that and I'll get that taken care of. Yes.
What's the name of the document?
It's called the Performance Assessment Guide, Instructional, Cycle 1, Learn About Students and Planning Instruction.
I believe I found it and put it in the chat.
Oh, great. And this cycle is all about learning about students and planning instruction. That is what CTC wants you to focus on. That's the direction that you'll be going in, and all the evidence that you submit on the templates is going to be about learning about students and planning instruction. Okay, now in cycle 2, their videos, we are not going to talk about cycle 2 right now. We're only going to try to focus on we're not going to talk about cycle 2. We're not going to, within cycle 1, there are 4 steps. We're going to talk about step 1 today, not step 2, not step 3, and not step 4. We're going to talk about step 1. I'm recommending that you get this step by step. When you get the information, you go in, you complete step 1, put it aside, and then complete step 2, put it aside, complete step 3, and then complete step 4, and then shove them all in the window together. You cannot shove one step into the window under CTC and then load the other window later. You have to load all the steps together. Today, we're going to talk about step 1 because there are a lot of things that you need to start doing with your school, with your master teacher, and then you can start to do the evidence portion of this. So what CTC asks you to do in step 1, they want you to take a look at a whole class of students, okay? They want a description of the students, their assets, and their learning needs, okay? They want to know prior academic knowledge that relate to specific content that you plan to teach, okay? They also want to know the culture and linguistic resources and knowledge and skills of your students. And they want to know what prior experience related to the content that you're going to be going after. Are you all single subject?
Yes.
Okay. So that means you're not going to be doing literacy, you're not going to be doing math, you're going to be building this, or you're going to be doing your lesson around your particular subject area, okay? They want to know the content of the class, the grade level, the age of the students, the content area, the instruction, whether it's online, asynchronous, hybrid, whatever that is. They want to know what resources and materials you have access to and plan to use in the lesson. They want to know what number of students you have, the total number of students in that class, the number of identified English learners, the number of standard English learners. And that standard is a students who may know English, but they lack the structure for the academic language that goes along with English. They want to know the number of students with an individualized educational program, the IEPs. They want to know the students with a 405 plan. And they want to know the number of students identified as gifted and talented under GATE. So here's what you need to start doing. You need to speak with your master teacher, or you need to go to your office or go to your classroom, and you need to start pulling together all of that information so that you can engage in this whole class section of step one. Is that clear? Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do we pick like one of the sections that from our master teacher? Because my master teacher has like has like 5 different classes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Work with your master teacher, find out what section you're going to be working, get that all together and organized. Start doing this legwork now, finding out, what section you're going to work, which one's going to work for you, which one's going to work best for you, which one has the right population of students for you, and then go through and gather all that information about the whole class. Okay?
Dr. Clinton?
Yes, sir.
I have one question. What would you advise those of us who do not have a placement or a master teacher yet?
Oh man, that's a hard discussion to have. That's just when are you going to be placed, Hector?
They're not guaranteeing me a placement this semester. I was told that I can expect to not be guaranteed placement this semester.
Okay, well, then you're going to have to pretty much start this process next semester. However, one thing that I recommend is that you still take this performance assessment, start looking through it, getting familiar with it, and just, keep getting comfortable. Because you don't have a class yet, you don't have a placement, then you really can't do anything because you don't know where you're going to be, and you can't just go to some arbitrary classroom. No one's going to allow you to do that. Okay.
I have one quick question. So I know we'll be doing cycle 1, but will we be able to talk it over with our master teacher a bit just to, know exactly what we're going to be doing, and after looking through the different documents, what we're supposed to be doing for cycle 1? Or
you said, will you be able to talk with me or to talk with your master teacher?
The master teacher.
Yeah. I'm encouraging you to speak with your master teacher. Your master teacher is going to really, give you the guidance you need to help get you to whatever class and whatever population of students you're going to be working with, and then answering all these questions in terms of, age and grade level and content and instruction and resource materials. That is something you need to work with your master teacher on. You need to start doing that now. So yes, your master teacher is going to help you get yourself sorted so that you can do the first template around the whole class. Does that make sense for you?
That actually does make sense. Okay.
Okay. Very good. And this portion is going to require 9 pages of writing. CTC wants you to submit 9 pages. And I would recommend no less, but not a penny over 9. Anything over 9, imagine that CTC is just going to throw it out, and you're going to have wasted your time and your energy and that bit of information.
Is that only in step 1 that it's 9 pages, or the whole cycle?
No, step 1. And a very good question, Savannah. And then I'll keep telling you about the next pages that are going to come out of this same step 1. Okay. So when we talk about whole class, the whole class is going to ask for descriptions of students, assets, and learning needs. And one thing I want to talk to you a little about that you can have a conversation with your master teacher, and that's around assets and learning needs. When we think about assets and learning needs, we have a tendency to think negatively, like, oh, this student is falling short in this area. This student is not strong. This student is not capable. But CTC is asking you to talk about assets and learning needs in terms of positive things. What assets do these students, and we're going to go back to the 3 focus students, but what assets do these students bring to the classroom that helps facilitate the success of your lessons? Okay. All right. So you want to be positive about the assets and the learning needs, and you want to in no way speak negatively about the student's asset. Don't even say things like, oh, the student is slow, and then because he's slow, so I'm going to have to. What you say, you may say something like, this student he always raises his hand, he's always active in the class, he looks for opportunities, and so I find myself twisting my lesson or moving my lesson so that student has an opportunity to engage and be a part of the classroom. Assets and learning needs are highly significant and very important when you start to describe your whole class and when you start to describe these 3 focus students that you are going to be focusing on for this step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Does that make sense for you folks?
Yes.
When we talk about,
yes.
okay, so when we talk about assets and when we talk about learning needs, we talk about it only in terms of positive. Their learning needs, you find a way to speak about that in terms of a positive way and how you're going to build your lesson so that it accentuates whatever learning needs that they have, and it increases and moves them forward in the learning process. Okay. Put a big emphasis around assets and learning needs, because that is going to guide you through cycle 1, and it's going to guide you also through cycle 2. All right. Another thing about the performance assessment guide, there is a glossary. When you take a look at the guide, everything that's blue and underlined, you can click on and it will pop up and give you a definition or structure around what that terminology means. Also, there is a glossary in the back. You go back, read assets and read learning needs, and you'll see that CTC is very serious about you speaking positively about your students. And they want to know that you have the capability to articulate that and to plan and build a lesson that accentuates their assets and their learning needs. All the positive things that they bring to the classroom, you as an instructor have the ability to take that and use it and propel your class forward. Okay? All right. And feel free to say, yeah, Quentin, that's good, or give me a thumbs up, because that's very helpful.
I just wanted to point out 2 things really quickly for anybody that isn't looking at the chat. The CalTPA Performance Assessment Overview is posted in the chat. Someone posted it. And also there was a comment made in the chat that kind of got overlooked, and it was that a good portion of a good portion of us don't have placements yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Israel. Okay.
Also, Dr. Robinson, I have one question.
Yes, thank you.
For when we write our 9 pages about our students, is it focusing on the 3 main students, or is it about all the class as a whole, and then we focus on those 3 students?
It's all the class as a whole, and then you're going, and then you're going, and then you're going to be focusing on those 3 students. So okay, and one
I
thing,
mean, you can also just open it, but I just can't open it.
you know, and you guys, that
Like,
was
you don't need to
that
press
was
the
the
button to
problem.
open it.
That was. I'm going to ask everyone to go on mute, and that was my problem. I tried to get into my Zoom and I couldn't, so I couldn't record. I'm on as a guest, just like you, and I don't have the power to mute a student. So I apologize, and I don't know what the problem is. One thing, before I go any further, I just want to talk a little more about the descriptions of students' assets and learning needs, because this is very important. So you have to ask yourself, what have your students been doing in class so far this year, in this prior academic year? You know, work with your master teacher to find a sequence that that you've been working on, and use that to talk about your students' assets. Use what you've been doing in class throughout the year to build your lesson. Build your lesson on what you've already been doing so that you can better understand your students' assets and learning needs based on things that have already been happening. Does that make sense? Don't build your lesson just cold turkey. Build it off of what you've been doing in the class. Use that to look at your students' assets and their learning needs, because that can help you really understand your students a lot better, and it helps you build a lesson that's relevant and that makes sense. Okay, does that help any? Okay, anyway, this is very important. I'll keep moving, and I'll come back a little further as I keep going. The next thing you're going to do in this step 1 is you're going to have 3 focus students, okay? And you're going to pretty much have to give a description of 3 focus students, their assets, and their learning needs, getting real centralized, okay? So with the focus student, with focus student 1, this focus student, you're going to have to choose a district identified English learner. Okay, this can be an English learner at an LPAC level. If you have a redesignated English learner in your class, you can select that individual. Okay, and you know, check the does this individual have a language proposed difficulty? Yes.
So I work at a well, I'm placed at a high school that's an early college high school.
Okay.
And most of them are not English language learners. Is there a way to find out who is?
You can use a reclassified student.
Okay.
And here's the thing. This is what this time is all about. You know, before you start to write, all of us are going to have to identify 3 focus students and work with your master teacher to find out who these 3 focus students might be. You can start on this process right now. It's highly significant that you get on this right now. Okay, give me 1 second. Find the class you're going to be working with, and then identify your 3 focus students. Get the permission to work with these students, and then once you have them all, then you can start that writing process. Yes.
So one question is, what does reclassified mean? And the second question is, should we find a student that has a 504 plan?
Yeah, you know, that's working with your master teacher. Yes, you're going to have to find those individuals yourself and then use those individuals in this process.
Would you recommend us finding a student with the 504 plan, or should we just kind of keep it more relaxed?
They have a list. They have a list of students, and if you ask your master teacher, they should have a list of all the students with ELL.
I have the list, but would you recommend us working with those students, or what, should we just kind of keep it like find whatever is like, is it required? Is it required to have a student with the 504 plan?
With student one, you're going to have to find an identified English learner. You're going to have to find that student. So find that student, work with your master teacher, identify that student, and you can possibly use that student as your first focus student, okay? And that's why I'm saying right now, and I know there's a lot of like confusion, you take this information back with your master teacher, they will help you through this process 100%. That's their job, and that's their commitment to you, okay? All right.
I have a quick question. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm still not sure how to do that in the world languages classroom, since most of it is in French. I do, however, have a student who is completely fluent, so it does pose a problem because he's so much more advanced than the other students. Could that be considered? Is there a way to
you know what you can do? You can sort of maybe go offline a little bit, and then you and I offline, we can talk about that, and I can help you through that process. I can make my contacts with my people at CTC and then get that answered for you and get you sorted there. Okay. Or you know, these are students who's this English learner is a student that pretty much struggles with academic language. So those are the kind of identifiables that you're looking for. They have language pose difficulties, they struggle with academic language, or they could be reclassified. That could be your first, your focus student, okay? And then you're gonna need a second focus student. And this is gonna be a student, choose a student taught in the general education classroom, who the district has identified as having a disability with an IEP or a 504, okay? A 504 plan, or a student identified for GATE, okay? So this is your focus student number 2. Any questions? This is a student who has learning challenges. They have self-identified academic needs, or they need help in the classroom, but those identified things like disability, IEP, or 504 plan, that should help narrow you down and you know exactly how to go. This is, right now, these are conversations that you should take back to your school on Tuesday or as soon as possible and start getting this sorted out, okay? All right.
Dr. Robinson, sorry,
Yes.
Question. Is it preferable to choose a student with an IEP 504 versus a GATE student? Does it matter? What are your thoughts?
It doesn't matter. I would say out of all of that, choose the one that makes this process the easiest and most fluid for you. And talking with your master teacher, or speaking with someone in the higher ups or whatever, they can help guide you to the right student, okay? Because you're going to also, when we come around to cycle 2, you're going to be working with these students in the video process. So you want the student that works the best with you and helps you achieve what is set forth that CTC asks you to do in order of grabbing evidence, okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. And just as an aside, is there a template or a model for cycle 1 out there that we could see as far as language goes and whatnot?
Yeah, there is a template for all of these steps, and I will see that you get a copy of all those templates. Absolutely. As soon as I find where to load them, trust me, and I'll be working on that. I'll try to get those to you. I'll try to get them to you on Tuesday. Okay, so I'll get you all the templates. And thank you to whoever sent this, the performance assessment guide out right now. And it is version 4 that you sent out. That's good. So, everything else that I can get my hands on, I will make sure that you have accessibility, okay?
Yes, the second form. I didn't know there was a version 4. So the second link is the version 4 for anyone.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Nina. And
Dr. Robinson, I'm sorry, I have a question about the second focus student.
Yes.
So they have to be a student that's taught in the general education classroom, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So for a single subject, in my case, I'm in music. The student I choose, do I observe them in the music class or in their home class, in their general ed class?
That's you're gonna observe them in their general ed class.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what choose a student taught in the general education classroom. So yeah, you're gonna engage with them in the general education classroom.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Anthony.
I'm sorry, I have one question. So I have 2 mentor teachers. Do I do 3 from one mentor teacher and 3 from another, or do I just do 3 total?
You're just going to be doing 3 total.
Okay, thank you.
Period. Very good. Your third focus student, choose a student whose life experience, either inside or outside of school, may result in a need for additional academic or emotional support, and whose behavior in the classroom catches your attention. You know, does this student fall asleep in class? Is this student, does this student remain silent? Is this student, you know, does this student act out in class? You know, whatever that may be. Have that student experience some trauma that gets in the way of his or her learning? Does this student have some behavioral issues? So that's your third focus student. I'm going to go with Munoz and then Kylie. Yes, Munoz.
So quick question is, okay, so I have a student that I'm already thinking about, and they
okay, hermanito, despacio, por favor.
Perdón, señor.
Slow it down.
Tengo un estudiante now. I have a student who I'm already thinking about. They have a sensitive situation. Family member passed away.
Okay.
Do I need to get a waiver or something? Because it seems like a little bit too personal, right? Of information.
So you're thinking about using this particular student?
Yeah, because he needs mentorship, and I've worked as a mentor in the past through nonprofit work, and
yes. You're going to need, you know, when you start focusing on these 3 students, you're going to need a participation form to engage with these, because you're going to need this when you go to do the videoing. So yes, you're going to need to get the proper authority to work with these 3 focus students. Okay. Thank you, Munoz. Kylie?
Oh, I just wanted to very quickly clarify. So this third student is not necessarily academic needs, but they have some kind of either some emotional challenge or something outside of the classroom kind of need?
Yeah, okay. It could have happened outside the classroom, inside the classroom. I mean, just think someone, maybe a kid who always comes late. Or like I said, a kid who falls asleep in the class, a kid who's, you know, acts out in class. That's a student you want to focus on. So that's going to be your third focus student. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kylie. Now here's the thing. All of this, everything I talked about in terms of grabbing the classroom, grabbing these 3 focus students, these are going to take time. These are things you need to start having conversations with and about right now, because you can't write about this if you don't have these individuals in place. And when you get them in place, you have got to know the proper information so you can know how to share this information on the template with CTC. Does that make sense to you? So I encourage you to start digging right now, okay? So in this whole class piece with these 9 pages, you're going to, I see a hand up here. And all I see is a M Poland. Yes.
Thank you. My question is, so when we go to pick these 3 students, they are going to be 3 students that are from the same period of a class, or does it matter if they're from different periods of the day?
You know, it's going to have that one class that you're engaging with. It's going to have to be that one class, and those 3 students are going to have to be a part of that class. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, so in answer to your question, no, you can't go, grab, a different period student or what have you.
That's what
So,
thank you.
yeah, okay, thank you very much for your voice. So in this piece with these 9 pages, you're going to be describing the whole class, a description of students' assets and learning needs, the context, the contextual information for the whole class, age, students, content area, all of that. And then you're also going to be talking about your 3 focus students as well. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Zachary, your hand is up, brother. How are you?
Dr. Robson, good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right. I had a question on wording. Now, for focus student 3, say they're always late to class. How would we word that in a positive way?
No. You don't have to. When you start to talk about the assets, I'm talking about the assets and learning needs. When you list and talk about your 3 focus students, when you talk about them, you're going to let CTC know why you chose that student. Little Tommy is focus student 3 because Tommy has he constantly falls asleep in the class, and he has over the past year has demonstrated this behavior, blah 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 blah. And you're just letting CT know what kind of student you have selected. And when you go into focus student 2, you have a choice here. You can choose a student with a disability, an IEP, or a 504. You're going to need to let CTC know which student you're working with. Focus student 2 has a 504. You see what I'm saying? Or focus student 2 has an IEP and blah, blah. So you're just going to let CTC know. However, when you start putting your lesson together to look at assets and learning needs, then that's when you start speaking positively about your students. Does that make sense for you, brother?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zachary. And then I was just getting moving, and Zachary took my thoughts and threw them out the window. Now that was supposed to be funny. Okay, hey, okay, so those are your 3 focus students. And what I want to tell you also in terms of preparation and pulling documents and material that's going to be an asset in helping you build step 1 and helping you move through with step 2, 3, and 4, you need to get familiar with the Universal Design for Learning, the UDL. If you don't know what that is, if that's something that's out of your purview, you can go to Google and look it up, or you can go to CTC. It's under the blue. You click on that, read it, understand it, and you're going to use certain parts of these to help strategize and build your lesson for these students. You also want to get familiar with and use the California Teaching Performance Expectation, the TPEs. You also want to get familiar with the California Content Standard or the Curriculum Framework. Now, listen to me, students, or I'll say, listen to me, brothers and sisters, because we're all a family here. When you start building your 9 pages, my recommendation is you start using the language and the terminology around universal design for learning. Use the language and terminology around the California teaching of performance expectations. Use the language around the California content standard. Use that. Let that show the CTC individual who will read your document that you understand these things. And you can tie that language into your lesson and how you talk about your students and your whole classroom and your 3 focus students. Does that make sense to you? Okay, that, you know, we're as we keep working together down the road, we're going to look at the rubrics and talk about the rubrics. But the thing is, we're taking, the rubric is a 5-point rubric, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels to the rubric. We're not going to go to a 4 or 5. We're coming in right at a 3. Okay. And then you can work your way up to a 4 and a 5, but you don't want to work your way backwards. We don't want to be a 2, and we definitely don't want to be a 1. We want to pass and get a score at a 3. We just want to get this done. Okay, we want to get this on our plate and off our plate. And let me tell you, using the language from the Universal Design for Learning, using the language for the California teaching performance expectations, it's the difference between being stuck at a 3 and inching over to a 4. Our objective is to get as many points as possible and to pass, and to move this behind us, go to cycle 2, and then we move forward. So those are very important documents. Get copies of them, hold on to them. I say print them out, highlight them, and use them. Okay, folks? Okay, Quentin. All right. Who said that? Thank you so much. All right. So let's go over to, so I've told you about focus students, I told you about whole class, and I told you that in your 9 pages, those things are going to make up your 9 pages, okay? Now, let's talk about a lesson plan, okay? There is a template for this, and I will see that you get the template. Be patient with me. I'm going to make sure you get all the templates and everything you need to really take a look at and start combing through. But there's a template for that. But the lesson plan mustn't, they're going to ask you these questions about your lesson plan. And you don't have to really write this down because it's in the performance assessment that I think Nina sent, the guide that Nina sent to everyone, and it's on page 12. They want to know, what are you planning to teach in the lesson? Okay. And then I'll go back, and after I read these 4, then I'll go back and try to chop them up a little more for you. They want to know, 1, what are you planning to teach in the lesson? Now is the time for you to start thinking, what lesson am I going to teach? Okay. Now here's the thing. CTC will offer up a lesson plan for you, or you can use your own. Okay, so you can use theirs, or you can use your own, but you're going to have to address these 4 questions. What lesson plan? What are you planning to teach? What lesson are you planning to teach? What are you planning to teach in the lesson? Okay, I apologize. What are you planning to teach in the lesson? How will you know whether students learn what you are planning to teach? And then number 3, how will you structure student learning activities? And number 4, how will you plan your instructions to support learning through these student activities. And let me tell you what, when you come around to address these 4 questions for CTC, what should you use as a guide to help thicken that up and to make it fat and have nice volume? That's a question.
Can you repeat the question, Quentin?
Excuse me?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, when you go to answer these 4 questions that CTC is expecting you to respond to, what are you going to use to add volume and to thicken your responses to these 4 questions?
The teacher expectations and language,
Universal design.
UPL and curriculum framework.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. There you go. Very good. Exactly. When you start to speak to these questions, don't come raw off the cuff. Don't say oh, I'm really going to make sure. Hey, man, look through the Universal Design for Learning and highlight some terminology and some language and blend that into your thoughts. And man, that will give it volume. It'll make it highly intellectual. It'll show your ability to teach and to use the TPE. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so keep that in mind. When you respond to these 4 questions, the Universal Design for Learning, the California Teaching Performance Expectations, that's going to be a winner right there. You know what I'm saying? And I got you, Munoz. Give me 1 second, brother. And use the California Content Standards. That's going to help you really respond to these questions the way CTC expects you to engage around these questions. Okay? Munoz, talk to me, brother.
So at my site, they use something called Wicker, which is like writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading.
Okay.
Would they strongly encourage the use of that type of material? Do you think, should I just say, you know what, I'm not going to use that for the for the TPE write-up? Or should I include that since it's part of like the unique curriculum of my institution?
You know what, brother Munoz? I can see you using, all of them. I mean, dude, you use them. I'm sure they have some useful and meaningful language in that you can blend into your response. Dude, don't put it away, use it. Okay, it's a tool that will propel you forward. And what we want to do, we want to come in at a 3, but we can inch our way into a 4, So does everyone follow me? Does this make sense to you? Okay. So I want to do an informal assessment right now. You can just give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or how are you feeling right now? Have I wasted your time? Is this maybe working for you? Yeah, I can see a few people, so I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to keep going. Yes.
This is Richard Flores. I have a
hi, Richard.
Yeah, just to reply to you on that. To be honest, a lot of us are lost, and not having whatever you're talking about in front of us is really, really, I feel like putting me behind. And I feel like that's where we're getting a lot of these questions. I did pull up that that document that they just put in the chat, but I'm still lost at where these questions are at. So
okay,
in general,
it's on page 12.
Yeah, page 12 of what document? Yeah. Like
it's on page 12 of the
one I downloaded from the chat was only 10 pages.
Okay, what I don't know what's there.
There should be the CalTPA Performance Assessment. That's the volume 4.
Okay.
I actually believe it's page 13. There's the Rubric Essential Questions.
And then what volume are you looking at right now? Are you looking at version 4 draft?
Yes, version 4.
Okay.
Dr. Robinson, I think the one that was linked on the chat is not the guide. It's another file. I have the CalTPA Performance Guide. It's version 1, but it's the guide, and the one that was linked to was the overview.
Okay, And thank you for that.
Got it. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, and so here, Richard, I'm going to say this. Let's take it this way. What I wanted to do today was to get you thinking about focus students, about having a conversation with your master teacher, knowing that this assessment is coming your way. The next time that we engage, the next time we meet, and I'll find that master place where I can go, I will actually ask you to read certain things and to be prepared when you get here to engage me in conversation. Today, all I wanted you to do, Richard, was to become woke around cycle 1, to know that it exists. And Richard, I'm not expecting you to get off this Zoom and to be like, oh, I got it. That's not it. I want you to start thinking now. Even if you just start thinking about what 3 focus students you're on, then you're moving in the right direction. So I'm not in any way expecting you to come out of this enlightened and say, oh, I got it. I know cycle 1, I'm ready to go on and pay my money and then go on and grab a date that I'm gonna load it in and start doing it. That's not realistic. Definitely not now. This is our first meeting.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, but Richard, thank you for your voice. I appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Jackson.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I personally just want to say, like, I'm not confused at all. I'm following absolutely everything that you're saying. And I know a lot of my peers also feel the same way. We just feel that a lot of the personal questions are pulling away from that. So we're going on tangents and not necessarily absorbing what we need to absorb right now. And people are absorbing other people's tangents. So like, I hate to be that person. I hate to be that voice, but I understand everything. And I know a lot of my peers are understanding, but it's the tangents that are kind of drawing the confusion, if that makes sense.
And then I'll take full responsibility for that, and I'll try to keep us pulled together, Ms. Jackson. And thank you so much for your voice. I appreciate it.
Of course, and I don't think that it's your fault. I think that you're doing a great job delivering, and you're actually speaking at a great pace to where it's not slow and it's not too fast to where I can actually take notes on what you're saying. And I think your deliverance is very good. So I just wanted to tell you that as well.
And I appreciate that. You just added like 5 more years to my life. I was like, I was dying here. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do is I'll apologize. And what I'll do is I'll keep this thing moving and to try to keep it as tight as possible. So when they ask, you know, and these are things to start to think about. One, you need to start thinking about, what kind of lesson am I going to do? You need to start jogging yourself right now. Run to your master teacher, say, hey, I just had this little meeting on cycle 1, and I need to start thinking about a lesson. And your master teacher say, okay, let's start talking. Let's start talking, let's meet over lunch. And then you can start this process of starting to brainstorm and think about what direction you might want to go in. Even ask yourself, do you want, and I know you haven't seen it, do you want to use CTC's curriculum? Or do you want to use your own? Excuse me, their lesson plan, or do you want to use your own? And I would think that you'd want to use your own, okay? And then the question is yours already developed? Does it exist already? Do you want to pull from somewhere else and add to it? So now to start thinking about what lesson plan you're going to use. Now, CTC asks for certain page numbers. However, your lesson plan, it is not limited on pages, okay? So that's, okay, so that's something for you to start thinking about, okay? Is that clear? Is that helpful? Yeah, okay. So, so when we talk about what are you planning to teach in the lesson, Munoz.
Yeah, so should we use the state standards and just build off of one of the state standards? And then like would you advise us to use like primary source material, or would you say like, you know what, just use the book?
I'm not, the context of your question is kind of disjointed.
So in terms of the and when we're developing our lesson plan, you know, we have to build it on around a state standard, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, and here's the thing, when you start, let me tell you this, Munoz, when you start to think about building your lesson plan, I'm going to highly recommend, because I'm not going to make any recommendations for you, I'm going to highly recommend that you go to your master teacher, and trust me, they're expecting you, and they will guide you and take you down the right path into building that lesson plan, okay?
I'm just trying to turn in my paper and make sure to get my certification. Would you recommend us using primary sources, or should we just use the textbook?
I'm going to recommend that you talk with your master teacher, and they will guide you, and they will give you, man, they're not going to lead you down a rabbit hole. Trust me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's the best advice I can give. What are you planning to teach in the lesson? You know, have content specific learning goals. Where and how the lesson fits in the larger unit of your instructions. You need to be able to articulate that, okay? What you expect your students to learn and to be able to do. You need to be clear on those things, okay? You need to, what are your ELD learning goals to support English learners in the lesson? Basically, hey man, CTC wants to know that you have the ability to put together a lesson that engages everyone in the classroom. When they talk about the whole classroom, they want to know who are your EL students. They want to know who you have. And then when you do this lesson, they're going to be flipping back to say, well, look at this lesson. It doesn't even respond to the English language learners. This lesson misses out. Do you see what I'm saying? They want to know that you've connected everyone in the class with your lesson. Okay. They want to know the content to be taught based on the California Content Standard or the curriculum framework and the TPEs. So again, you have those documents, you need to weave them in, okay? So how will you know whether students learn what you are planning to teach? It needs to be an informal assessment, okay? You need to be able to interject an informal assessment in there. I'm going to be checking on students periodically, asking them to recite the numbers to me. If they can't, I'm going to step back and start. So all that needs to be part of how will I know whether, okay? So informal assessment is going to get you on that one. How will you structure students' learning activities? And here's the thing, folks. I'm going to try to wrap you out of here at 2:30. I think it's not going to work for me to hold you all afternoon and then, you know, when you burned out, okay? So be patient with me. I'm going to have you walking out of the door in the next 15, 20 minutes, okay, folks? I want you to know I respect you and I understand what you're going through, all right? The next, how will you structure student learning activities? How will you group students to manage group work? How are you going to do that? How are you going to build your pairs? How are your pairs going to work? You know, that sort of thing. What design of student learning activities that you have in there? How are you going to challenge or engage them or push them forward in the learning process? And then how will you plan your instruction to support learning through these student activities? Is there going to be some scaffolding going on? Are you going to have some outside learning activities? What's going to be there? And let me tell you what, folks, as I flip the page and go to another topic here, Universal design for learning, California expectations. Hey man, that's going to put you on that's going to set you right in responding to these questions. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about in terms of terminology, it's, and just give me a thumbs up. How many of you know anything about higher order thinking? There you go. I like that. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to tell you a little more about it, and then I'm going to push you into doing a little more yourself. This is something that rears its ugly head in cycle 1, and it stands strong in cycle 2 of CalTPA. Higher order thinking means you have to be asking the right questions, asking deep questions. That means you have to guide the learning process. You have to find ways to take your students deeper into the lesson. And that means you want deep understanding of the topic itself. When you start teaching about how tambourines are made or whatever, you want students to be going, oh, if the tambourine is made that way, then why does it make that particular sound? You want students to be going deeper in the lesson. So the question is, how are you going to engage your students in higher order thinking? How is your lesson going to challenge them to really want to go deeper? Because sometimes people do lessons and students don't even want to go deeper because you, as the facilitator, neglected to put these little pings and points throughout the lesson. And as a result, the student is stagnant and stuck right here, and they can't even drop a little more. You ever read a bedtime story? And then after you got finished reading, you go, hey, or the kid turns around and goes, I have a question. And you're like, what's the question? And you go, if the princess was going to marry him, why is it that he never looked back at her when and you go like, dang girl, really? That's serious. What made you think of that? That's higher order thinking. You see what I'm saying? When you walk away, you go, dang, I got a little smart kid in there. You want to develop your lesson so that it encourages higher order thinking. And I brought that up, I kind of jumped the gun on it. And then we're on our last piece. So I guarantee you, I'll send you on your way by 2:15. Now we're down to lesson plan rationale. And CTC is asking that you have no more than 7 pages on lesson plan rationale. Why are you making the instruction choice or the instructional choices that you've made? Okay, so what prior academic content knowledge are you using? What are your students' assets and learning needs? So explain how the lesson plan incorporates, affirms, and validates the student's culture and linguistic resources. Okay? You want to know also what are your student learning activities that promote or lead to higher order thinking. Hi, Jackie.
Hello. Question. So the 7 pages, are they in addition to the 9 pages, or are they integrated?
They're not addition. Those are in those 9 pages. these 7 pages are totally different. Okay, those 9 pages are separate. Those nine pages cover your whole class description of students, their access, learning, and needs, and it lays out the age, grade, content, blah, 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 all that stuff, okay? Along with the content information of your class. It's an English language class, blah, 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 blah. And then it gives your descriptions of your 3 focus students. That's what you're, okay, thank you very much for your question. And then they want to know what choice of instructional strategies are you using? And then they want to know how are your students grouped? Explain your rationale for grouping and pairing. What's your academic language development process? And then what materials, what resources and materials are you using to support your learning? Excuse me, to support your student learning, okay? So basically, in this, and then I'm walking out of this right now, so we're hanging out. So the evidence that you're going to submit in this in this step 1 of cycle 1, you're going to do the written narrative, getting to know your students, 9 pages, okay? And that's the whole, description of students' assets and learning needs, the contextual information for the classroom, and then the descriptions of your 3 focus groups, assets and learning needs. And then you're gonna insert a lesson plan. And your lesson plan, there's no limit on the pages, but I know you're not gonna go crazy, but there are no limits on the pages. And then you want a written narrative, a lesson plan rationale, no more than 7 pages. And then part D is going to be a related instructional resource and materials, no more than 8 pages. So that's whatever you put together that you're going to use to facilitate the learning. So whatever resources and materials that you want to give the CTC reviewer to look at and say, oh, okay, they're going to be using this. And that is okay. Does that all work for you folks?
I'm sorry, do you mind repeating these 4 again? I missed one.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. Part A, written narrative, getting to know your students, no more than 9 pages. And that's going to have your descriptions of students' assets and learning needs, contextual information of the classroom, and then descriptions of 3 focus groups and of the 3 focus group students, their assets and their learning needs. And then B is going to be a lesson plan, and that there's no page limit on that. And then part C, a written narrative, lesson plan, rationale, is going to have 7 pages. And then part D is any documents that, related resources and materials that you want to submit along with everything else that supports and helps the CTC evaluator understand where you're going. Okay, now I'm bagging out of this, and I'm going to say, and just to sort of circle back to my man Richard, I don't expect you to walk out of here today going, cha-ching, I got it. I want you to leave here today going, dang, I have a little bit of work to do. I need to talk with my master teacher. I need to kick this ball into the court. You can even say, Quentin gave a lot of information, but the thing that stuck out with me, I need to start thinking about my 3 focus students. Or you can say, Quentin gave a lot of information, but I want to start thinking about what kind of lesson I want to do. What lesson plan do I have already that I can enhance on or build on? Or what is my master teacher going to suggest to me? I just want you to start thinking today. I want you to say, wow, I got a little bit of work to do, okay? That's all I want from you. And then I will do my part. I'm going to find out how I can get in touch with all of you. how I can dump these templates on you so you can start saying, oh, this is the template. This is what it looks like. And I can dump, and you know, I'll do it anyway, but I think you have it, but I'll do it anyway. I'll give the performance assessment guide for version 4. And I also have some notes from a student that, I mean, her notes are freaking superior. And what I'm going to do is give you her notes, okay? And so you can use that as a resource as you start to build this assessment. Last thing, I also want you to go to the CTC website. Look at the dates. Talk with your master teacher and go, hey, here are the dates. I think I want to have mine done by this date. Do you understand me? Start thinking about this, folks. Last thing that's going to come out of my mouth, make this a priority. Start on it now. Okay, folks? I'm all done. I'm finished with pontificating and loading you up with a lot of this stuff right now. I want you to know I appreciate your voices. It is so nice to hear you speak to me. I really appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. And Miss Jackson, my mother's maiden name is Jackson, so high five to you. All right, folks, this has been great for me. I hope it's been good for you. I'm going to make myself available. When I dump you that information, I'll give you my email address, my office number, my cell phone number. If you want to hit me up and have some conversation with me, I'm at your disposal, okay? I am your humble servant. All right?
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
All right. All right. So that's it, folks. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with me, okay?
Thank you, Dr.
You have
Robinson.
a
Thank you,
pleasant
Dr.
weekend.
Robinson.
I'll see you at the next
Thank
meeting.
you, Dr. Robinson.
So much. It was a
Is it okay if I shoot you an email just